Pain is temporary. It may last a minute, or an hour, or a day, or a year, but eventually it will subside and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it lasts forever. That surrender, even the smallest act of giving up, stays with me. So when I feel like quitting, I ask myself, which I would rather live with. Quote, the legendary NBA player, Michael Jordan. Good morning, middle school, senior school, teachers, mom, and dad. This morning, I will be speaking to all of you about perseverance. Perseverance, a 12-letter word that is thrown around often, something that each and every one of us in this chapel has demonstrated in some point in our life, and something that without nothing could be accomplished. Now, whether it's persevering through those hour 15 classes that are thrown in our timetables, or if it's persevering through a deadly practice consisting of suicides and burpees, it is one of the vital qualities that one should possess. We've all succeeded before, and we've also all failed before. I mean, the number of times I've beat my brother in an arm wrestle would be embarrassing for me to mention. But he never confused a single defeat with a final defeat, and he's just that much closer to hearing my arm slam the dinner table. It'll come someday, Abby. Life is a highway, filled with inclines and declines. Although cliche, it is extremely accurate, and as much as I'd love to proceed and sing the beautiful lyrics of Tom Cochrane, I will refrain from doing so, as my friends have advised me to never sing in public. Instead, I will spend the next 7 minutes talking about what I define as perseverance, which is being positive, being committed, and accepting and overcoming adversity. Now, I'm sure you've been asked before, is the glass half empty or half full? Although the glass is always both half empty and half full, it's your choice how you choose to look at it. Being positive and thinking positively has been proven to stimulate mental health, success, and quality and length of life. Numerous universities and doctors have conducted research on how positive attitude has a biological impact on a person. The difference between positive and negative thinkers is their ability to deal with stress. As everyone is exposed to stress, what differs is how they handle it. A Yale study proved that stress causes inflammation inside the body, which has a hand in most known diseases, especially heart disease. It even speeds up aging so much that stress has been called a major ager. Now, I'm not saying that you should never feel stressed, or else you're at risk of heart disease or a shortened life, because if that were true, I think I personally would be long gone. But I'm saying that we should take a moment and realize that it could be worse and be grateful for what we have. I'm sure you've all seen me walking around campus with my huge, bionic, trendy knee brace on. And for those of you who don't know, I don't wear this to make a fashion statement, but because this summer I tore my ACL playing soccer. And in fact, I will be on the operating table next week. For quite some time, I thought there was nothing worse than not being able to play soccer for 8 months. But it is important to recognize that it can always be worse, and that we should appreciate what we do have and look on the bright side. Without positivity, we could never overcome hardships and persevere. Commitment is also something that each and every one of us has mastered. Each morning, every one of us eventually stops hitting the snooze button on our alarm clocks, gets out of bed, and goes to class 5 days a week, and gets involved in athletics, arts, and service. Here at Appleby, we are all programmed to get involved. However, being involved does not always mean that one is committed. In my eyes, commitment is not simply showing up to something because you said you would, but it is being 100% engaged and positive and passionate towards what you are taking part in. Commitment also requires patience and sacrifice in order to see results. Commitment may involve missing a party because of a practice or a game you have the same night, and it may mean sacrificing your hours of sleep just in order to practice or prepare for whatever you are devoted to. We've all committed to something before and questioned whether or not the amount of sacrifice and dedication you put into it is worth it, and this is where patience comes into play. I know most athletes can relate to how much more excited you are for a game than you are at practice. However, my coach always told me, quote, "You must be committed and patient in practice in order to see the results on the field during a game." After all, like Jean-Jacques Rousseau once said, patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Finally, hardships. We all have them, we all hate them, and yet they just keep coming our way. I mean, whether you're torn between having Nutella or peanut butter for breakfast, or whether you're stumped by those awful tips assignments, we all face adversity on a regular day basis. The thing that makes you stand out is whether you simply accept defeat or whether you fight and are determined to overcome it. When I was in grade 8, my dad told my brother and me that he had been diagnosed with a pituitary gland tumor, which is located in the brain. Now, I won't speak for Abby, but I can tell you that when I heard this news, I thought it was game over. I was devastated. I had accepted defeat the moment the words came out of his mouth, and I had already begun imagining my life without him. For a while, I tried to ignore it because I thought it would be easier if I did so, and if I just pushed him away. Turns out, it is easier to give up, but it's almost never the right thing to do. I was a coward, and I'm glad I was, because he proved me wrong. My mom and him taught me that perseverance can make the impossible possible. And as you can all see, 4 years later, my dad is a tall guy sitting in the back of the chapel, tumor-free, without a worry in the world. At this point in my life, where I saw my mom and dad do everything they possibly could, go to countless appointments, visit countless doctors, to fight my dad's illness, showed me the real meaning of getting right back up after being pushed down. My parents taught me that in order to overcome adversity, you must be determined to achieving and aspiring for your goals, which in my dad's case was living. This year, I had the privilege of working with a middle school, and I'm sure if you ask Ms. Kirkpatrick, any home form teacher or senior one leader, it is quite the experience. At times, it can be overwhelming with the screaming, running around, and around-the-clock excitement, but it is exactly what any senior school student needs. Their everlasting spirit and positivity is so contagious and so underestimated. However, it truly has the power to change one's day. I could walk into grade band with my head down and without a doubt come out of it with my head up high, and this is because of their optimism. So I'd like to thank them for that. And I won't forget to mention Mrs. Kirkpatrick. Mrs. Kirkpatrick is a beacon of respect for all of those around her, which is why the Middle School Chapel Week theme is just so fitting. I mean, has anyone in this room ever seen her without a smile from ear to ear on her face? The amount of encouragement, support, and positivity I receive from her is unfathomable. The day I walk out of Mrs. Kirkpatrick's office without receiving over 10 compliments will be the day that the world ends, I can promise you that. With all of this support behind me, I am extremely privileged to be given the strength to persevere, and I hope each and every one of you is fortunate enough to have the same. Senior 2s, we have exactly 149 days until we graduate, and without a doubt, we will face many challenges between now and then. We must persevere to reach each of our goals, to reach each finish line. However, reaching the finish line is never easy, and on top of that, at every finish line is yet another starting line. Senior 2s, we will be done high school in 5 months and cross the finish line. Yet after that finish line lies another starting line, the start of the rest of our lives. Middle 1s and middle 2s, it is no different for you. Middle 1s, in 149 days, you will finish grade 7 and start grade 8. Middle 2s, in 149 days, you will cross the finish line of middle school, but start your journey through high school. If there is one piece of advice I can give you, it is that yes, there will be many challenges that will seem so overwhelming at the time, but you must overcome them and persevere in order to see how small and irrelevant these problems can become. Life wasn't meant to be easy. Easy would be too much to ask for. In fact, easy would be boring. So embrace how hard it can be and remember, we are made to soar, to crash to earth, then to rise and soar again. Quote Alfred Wainwright. Thank you for listening, and could you all please rise and sing hymn 656, She Comes Sailing on the Wind.